Okay, you guys are good to go. I'm gonna sneak away.
Okay. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Susan.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back for another week, another chat.
Absolutely. OLATT Chats. Here we are. It's always fun to do with you guys. We can kind of imagine the audience.
Yeah. With their questions and their cheers intermittently.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm excited to talk with you about, we just got a video from a volunteer, I think, all about Cuba and the work that we're doing in Cuba. So tell me, how did we get the video and what's our connection there?
Okay, Wayne Grinstead has been working on this for several years now. And the video to me is just amazing. And he did this as a gift to one library at a time. He is a volunteer. He goes down to Cuba and takes a team of volunteers every January. So ever since we did a library with the sister church, Wayne's, he fell in love with, and the people, the team members he went down with fell in love with what one library at a time does. So every year now they do a library while they're down there. And now they've started getting stuff together to do two libraries in January every year.
Wow. So is all the work that we do in Cuba in churches?
Yes, the government of Cuba will only allow us to create libraries in churches.
Okay.
However, the churches open their doors to anyone in the community. You don't have to be a member of the church. You don't have to be a Christian. It's a community asset and a community gift to all the Cubans that live around the churches where we planted libraries.
Oh, okay. So, and Wayne, he's connected to, I think, Oakhurst Baptist is one of the, just to clarify, we have churches in the States that are connected to the Fraternity of Baptists down there. And these churches go on mission trips, and we started working with them. And their sister churches are down in Cuba. And so we're putting the libraries in those churches.
Well, actually, yes. And we work with the Alliance of Baptists here. They're the ones that organize the sister churches. Orquídea is our go-to person in Cuba. She's secretary of the Fraternity of Baptists, and she now makes the decision as to what church we go to. And she also plans everything. So she does a lot of work to get one library at a time in communities, and
where it's needed, where it's ready.
Right. And she's become a dear friend. And that's something special that happens when you work over and over in a country like
people,
Panama, or you get to know people on a personal level.
So I'm really intrigued at the high literacy rate in Cuba, because, I haven't gotten to go to Cuba yet. So that's a brand new world I definitely want to explore. The video really highlights how they are just grown up in a culture of literacy, it seems, which is a contrast to some of the other countries. I've worked a lot in Panama, and you don't get that feeling. You don't get that sense. The adults don't all have a bedside reading, so I'm curious, maybe some of the differences that you've experienced when you've been there, and how that even really is possible, that their literacy rate is so high.
Right. And Wayne goes into that in the video he made. The children's books in particular are black and white. And if they have any drawing in there, it's a black and white drawing. So when we bring books, specifically the Cat in the Hat, we take it to every library because the kids love the color. But the literacy rate is high, but like Wayne said, once you're out of school, you don't have a lot of access to books. So that's what we do. We make books accessible.
But it seems like they're growing up loving to read.
Yes, and with the libraries that we have created, the parents can get books and read out loud to their children every night. After they finish their homework, they get to have the joy of reading a book with their parents.
So, okay, so they have a reading culture. What was going on with the orchestra that I saw in the video? Is that part of our culture?
Every country has a surprise, and in Cuba, the arts are very important. Reading is very important, and we were eating breakfast at the place we were staying, and all of a sudden, all these young people came in and they were moving the chairs around into a circle, and they had some instruments, and it was one of the youth orchestras. So we made a quick decision to stay and listen. And so we let the site where we were supposed to go know we were going to be about an hour late. And it was incredible. It was just such a gift that we happened to be eating our breakfast as they came in to practice. So that group is what Wayne showed in the courtyard. So obviously he and his group had experienced the same thing.
So youth orchestras are just kind of a typical thing.
Yes.
Oh.
The arts, painting, music, ballet. They love ballet, and it's about a nickel to get into the ballet.
Oh wow.
So they make things like that accessible.
Wow. Which I think, that you stopped and took the time to listen in the moment speaks to the kind of experience you have, because a lot of these places that we go, they're not on a set schedule. They're not governed by every single hour like we are in the States. And sometimes things are ad lib, and sometimes we have to be very flexible with our schedule, but it ends up being a real blessing to us. And it's a sort of bonding thing, I think, sometimes with the locals, whoever we're working with, to be able to appreciate different things about their culture while we're there, instead of just, completely being mission and project driven the entire time. Well, I guess part of our mission is making relationships too.
Yeah, it is. We do libraries. We create libraries. We don't build them because I don't do hammer and nails very well. But we also have found that there's a need to build community. Community between the librarians, so that they kind of get the experience of working together. Community among us, if we have 5 people, there's a new community. And most important, I think, is the community we build between the One Library at a Time team and the librarians. One of the things I say to every library, and all the volunteers say, this is your library now. When we've completed our task, this is your library. It's not One Library at a Time's library. So if this Dewey Decimal System doesn't work for you, change it. But it's interesting, and I'm very pleased that all the libraries I know of kept the system.
Yeah, 'cause it's expandable. It can work. It's a simplified system that can work for different people, and however they need it to benefit their unique situation. I wanted to ask you. I see in the video there's two women that we see a couple of times in the video, and there's one man. Are those three different library locations, and are those people librarians, or do they take care of the library, or what's their relationship?
It is three different locations. And the people who are videoed are ministers
Okay.
in the particular churches, but they're the ones that kind of oversee everything. But they also have 2 to 3 librarians that we have trained that actually do the running of the library. And the one thing that's not in the video, because it's relatively new, is that we have built relationships like the ones in Panama and Ecuador, where we have people trained and ready to go that are Cuban. And in Panama, we have Panamanians building, creating libraries. And in Peru, you set up a system where the Peruvians can do libraries. So this is an exciting part of how we're growing and where we're going.
You said Ecuador before, but just to clarify, we're not quite in Ecuador yet. We're just in Peru. Hope to be
Next
there.
year, next year.
Maybe that's for telling, Susan. So what's happening in Cuba is that, are you saying that the churches where we've done work, that they are now going out and training other churches, other sites?
Exactly. We still need to go because we need to bring the books. So now we're trying to bring 2 libraries worth of books and supplies at a time, so we can go to a library and do our work. But the librarians we have trained maybe years ago, they take the other set of supplies and books and go out to the next site and do it themselves.
Wow. So it's just extending our mission even more.
Yes.
And letting us pour resources in other places. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, I think you shared one memory. Do you have anything else that sticks out at you? Anything that grabs you? I'm so enticed. I think I'm ready for you to put me on the list.
I'll do that. What you doing in November? We'll be going then if things clear up. But the Cubans really believe in reciprocity. So they want us to have some experiences that show how wonderful their country is. So they want us to go to Valadero Beach. That's one of the 10 most beautiful beaches in the world. I haven't been swimming in it yet. I keep forgetting my bathing suit, but just to walk on the beach and see it is pretty amazing. So they want it to be, I'll give you this and you'll give me that, kind of.
We're gonna share an experience with you. We're gonna bless you in return.
Exactly. And some of it is, like the orchestra, it just happens. Magic happens on some of the trips we take.
Yeah. A little bit like Second Back in History, right? With the older cars, and they've got some good preserved history in some of the older towns.
Yes, and it's interesting because you don't see it after you've been there a few days. You don't see the cars. They're just there. You do notice the horses drawing a carriage full of children, and that's their bus. And you notice that because they're kids.
Yeah.
So you ready to wrap it up, or if you got some other questions?
Nope. I think I'm good. Thanks for thanks for filling me in. I'm excited about the work we're doing there, and I look forward to when I get to go and to having another chat next week.
And be sure and watch the video. It really captures Cuba. It captures Cuba. So see you next week.
See you
Bye.
then. Bye.